Chapter 6. Dot.com from day one. Whether you are selling a physical product, as I am, opening your own bricks and mortar store, or selling a service, it's absolutely critical that you have a great website. It will always be your biggest shop window into the world and the best opportunity for getting your message across. And the good news is that, even if you don't know the first thing about building a website, you can get something professional online in under a day. Since I don't know what it is that you are hoping to do with your website, the first step is to be really clear about what is the main thing you want your visitors to be able to do. Most likely it is something pretty standard, like providing information about your opening times, taking bookings, or accepting orders. In which case, you will absolutely be able to use one of the fantastic services that are available to build it yourself, without hiring a web designer or a developer. Where possible, I would definitely recommend this route. Rather than going to the expense and delay of having something custom built, using something off the shelf gives you the ability to be up and running right away. Building a site from scratch is fraught with difficulties and, like all good building projects, will always take much longer than you initially plan. There is a huge temptation to believe that your idea is so special and unique that your site needs to be custom built. So often I meet entrepreneurs who are building some kind of elaborate booking software for their new restaurant concept, or an all-singing, all-dancing app for their events business. The reality, of course, is that most paths have been walked before, and there is an off-the-shelf software product to solve most problems that you might be trying to solve. If you can find an off-the-shelf system, whether to build your site or your app or to run a particular function of your business, I would recommend doing so, at least in the beginning. Even if it doesn't do everything exactly the way you would like, it's better to actually start than to procrastinate trying to build the perfect system. If doing things this way means that you have to complete certain parts of the process manually, then so be it. What does it matter if some of your process is manual when you don't have many customers? Of course, as your business grows and you are generating funds that you can use to pay expensive developers, you can work on building your own system. What's more, once you have some experience of what your customers actually want your site to do, you'll be better placed to create a site that works well for them, rather than building features based on your early assumptions about what they want. In our Beer 52 business, we used this approach by initially using Shopify, and a subscription management plugin called Chargeify, to get our site off the ground in a matter of days, before going on to build our own system from scratch once we knew that what we had come up with was what our customers wanted. If I haven't managed to convince you to find an off-the-shelf solution to your problems, that's okay. If you really do believe that what you are doing is so unique and complicated that you need to hire a developer, that's absolutely possible to do, and I will share with you some thoughts on how to do that later. What does your site need to do? Before we jump into the exciting and fun steps of building our sites, we should take a moment to figure out exactly what we want the site to do and, perhaps more importantly, what we want to convince our customers to do from the moment they land on it. A useful approach to web design is to begin with the creation of a wireframe. This is a very rough sketch of what each page of your site will look like, and how you hope a visitor will flow through it. For example, you will hope that they will go from the home page to the products page to the basket to the checkout to the payment page. By putting yourself into the shoes of a visitor to your site, you can figure out what messages you need to present them with on each page and what you hope their action will be at each stage of the journey. Your website is not a piece of art, nor is it just there to give information about your business, it is there to sell your product to people who visit it. You have to imagine that someone will land on your homepage having never heard anything about you or your business before, and if you can get your messages across in a compelling enough way, they will progress through your site, ultimately parting with their credit card details. A huge number of people won't even stay longer than a few seconds, much in the way that most people will only glance at the labels of products in supermarkets, not taking the time to read more about them. This means that you have to catch their attention very quickly. People are extremely busy and the internet is full of things that they could be spending their time looking at other than your site. Chances are, they probably have a dozen other tabs open as well as yours. People get extremely annoyed if you waste their time. Get to the point. Make it extremely clear why your product should be in their lives and do it with as little text as possible. Video and quality photography are the best ways of communicating with people on the web, because it takes almost no effort on the part of the viewer to look at a picture, whereas reading a whole page of text is quite frankly a drag, and most people won't bother. While you're in your customer's shoes, have a think about all of the inevitable questions that are going to spring up in their minds as they look at your site. You must try to address all of these questions snappily and in a way that helps aid the sales process. How much is shipping? Do you deliver internationally? What sizes are available? Woo! Delivery is free. We deliver anywhere in Europe. Sizes XS, XL available. It seems obvious that you would give these details on your site, but actually most sites fail to be upfront about the boring details. But it is the boring details that people have in their minds, and if you don't tell them the answer, they'll just assume the worst, that delivery is expensive and you don't have their size, for example. In my opinion, the quickest way to figure out what your site should look like is to take inspiration from your competitors' sites. Or perhaps not necessarily competitors, but the site of a business that has had good success online using the same business model as yours. You can assume that if they have been up and running for some time and are successful, they will have tested and optimized their site to end up with a layout, key messages, and design that convert the largest possible number of visitors into customers, which is the name of the game. Graze.com. When we were first setting up Beer 52, we looked for inspiration from great subscription businesses, to get a clue as to how we should design our website. One brand that we got some advice and learned a huge amount from was Graze.com, one of the real pioneers of selling food products on a subscription. As a customer, I love their brand. They send out a cute box with a selection of different healthy treats inside, as frequently as you'd like them to. The company was founded by a group of entrepreneurs including Graham Bosher, who was also a co-founder of LoveFilm, sold to Amazon for £200 million. I knew from having met them that they took a very scientific approach to marketing, testing the conversion on all kinds of different offers, images, and website layouts to create a super optimized offering. Their success was enormously inspiring and, given that they'd already done years worth of experimenting by this point, we figured we could learn a lot from them. We looked very closely at how they presented their products on their site, what sort of messages they gave to potential customers, and how they encouraged their customers to invite their friends to sign up. For example, as soon as you land on their site, you are presented with a very clear image of exactly what you are going to get when you sign up. This type of photography maybe isn't as sexy as doing something more abstract or including people in the shots, but it helps to communicate exactly to the customer what it is they are being asked to sign up for. It also displays precisely what they are going to pay, rather than hiding that sort of information on a second page. Their homepage also includes some very clear call to action buttons, which invite the visitor to get started. These are dotted around the page to make sure that, at every point, the potential customer is being encouraged to continue on to the next stage of signing up, rather than getting distracted and moving on to something else. In very simple terms, the images and illustrations on the site also explain how it works, so that there are no doubts in the customer's mind about what exactly this service is and what they're potentially signing up for. Before the brand was a household name, the site also included logos of newspapers and magazines that had featured them, to add credibility. The clarity of design that Graze pursued is quite striking when you compare it to a lot of other sites, and I think this simplicity partly explains their success in acquiring hundreds of thousands of customers, along, of course, with having a delicious product. All of these seemingly simple ideas no doubt took a lot of trial and error on Graze's part to come up with. And although what had worked for them wouldn't necessarily work for us, by learning from what they'd created we were not designing our own site completely blind. We had a few clues as to what was likely to be a successful layout and incorporated these with a few of our own ideas to come up with our initial format, which we have since optimized and improved over the years. Creating a mock-up. With the help of this inspiration and with a clear idea of what you want to say and what the basic features of your site should be, it can be helpful to create a mock-up. This is less relevant if you are going to use one of the pre-designed templates that come with the DIY services I'm going to tell you more about, but is very helpful if you plan to hire a developer to build your site from scratch. One quite simple but useful tool for creating wireframes is Balsamiq Mockups. They offer a free trial, which is all you need since this process is likely to take little more than 15 minutes. Their software makes it very easy to play around with the sitemap and individual page layouts, helping you to focus on what the big button needs to be on each page, i.e. the sign up or buy now buttons. Once you have created a mock-up, you can either start building your site yourself or send it to your designer/developer if indeed you decide to use one. Do it yourself vs hiring a web developer. Certainly, if you have no experience of building a website and your idea requires an extremely complicated process, you will have to consider hiring someone to help write the code that runs your site. However, if you are simply looking to sell a product online, without the need for much custom functionality, you can definitely build this yourself, even without any specialist knowledge of coding, software or web development. What is really exciting to me is that there are now so many tools available online that allow us to get our idea from blank page to web page without having to employ any professional help at all. A number of services provide a basic template that you can add your own images and text to, creating a very professional looking website in no time. All you need to do is enter your PayPal account details or another payment processor, such as Stripe, and you can start accepting payments from customers as easily as that. Shopify. My all-time favorite of these services is Shopify. It's what we've used to build most of SuperJam's sites, and we even used it to make the very first version of Beer 52. What's particularly cool about it is that, at the click of a button, you can integrate all kinds of apps, for advertising, customer service, referrals, and even shipping, tracking and delivery of customers' orders. Squarespace. Perfect for a simpler site, Squarespace can help you very quickly create a beautiful few pages. I'd say this is ideal if you are opening something like a pop-up restaurant or a photography business. Strikingly, there has been a massive trend recently on the internet towards creating one-page sites. These allow the user to scroll down through a series of slides that get a message across in a simple, easy-to-read way. Strikingly has much fewer features than other sites, but that makes it a bit quicker and easier to use. It has great templates for promoting an iPhone app, ebook, or other digital products, so if you just need a super simple web page, I'd go with them. Choosing a template. A key decision that you will make at this stage is which template to use. This is the basic layout for your site that cannot be changed easily once you commit to it. Whether you decide to use Strikingly, Shopify or Squarespace, or any of the many other similar services available, you'll have the option to pick one of their standard free templates, or alternatively to buy a more beautifully designed one from them or via a third party. For the Amazing Oats site, I have decided to use Shopify, since it offers the most potential for customization and add-on features. Although there are many brilliant free templates on their theme store, I consider the investment in a premium one to be worthwhile in the long run. I pick one called Maker from their store and buy it for $180. If you don't want to splash out at this stage, it is absolutely okay to start out with one of the free themes, or you could also check out some of the cheaper Shopify themes on themeforest.net. Photography. Photography is perhaps the most important element of any website, and if you have any money at all to invest in your business, this is definitely one of the areas you should spend it on. When people can't physically touch, smell or taste your product, you had better do your best at least to make it look good, as that is all they've got to go on. It goes without saying that, unless you have a quality camera and a good eye, you shouldn't waste your time trying to photograph your product yourself. You should also be aware that photography and styling are two different skills. Some photographers are great at both, but you should definitely consider hiring both a photographer and a stylist if you want some really good images for your site. You should also know that most photographers specialize in a particular genre. For example, fashion, food, or still life. Just because someone takes amazing shots of models doesn't mean they will be talented at, or even comfortable with, shooting your homemade cupcakes, for example. As with anything, the range of prices for a shoot can run from hundreds of pounds to hundreds of thousands of pounds. But you do have a few options to help you achieve more bang for your buck. First, it is worth doing as much of the groundwork yourself as possible. You should find a suitable location for the shoot. It might just be your own kitchen or garden, as well as sourcing all of the relevant props. In big cities like London, you will be able to find vast prop warehouses that hire out all kinds of interesting objects for shoots by the day, which is much cheaper and quicker than buying them yourself. Just as when you were briefing the designer for your overall brand, you should create a brief for your photographer. Start by writing a list of all of the exact shots you want to get, whether they should be landscape or portrait, and how they will each be laid out in terms of the props you will be using. It's good to be very clear about what you are expecting from the shoot from the outset. If you start making changes to the brief afterwards, the price your photographer charges will start to creep up too. To make it really clear to the photographer what you want the images to look like, you should create a mood board, just as for your designer, but this time comprising simply examples of great photography. The images you select should be those you imagine are an easy enough style to recreate, and they should all be similar to give the photographer a strong sense of what you are getting at. A good place to start when looking for a photographer is in your nearest town or city. Through Google, most photographers will have an online portfolio that you can view. If they are close by, you'll be able to view the shoot in person and take along all of the props you need to display your product with, which is always best. Failing that, you can check out some of the online freelance marketplaces, such as People Per Hour and Upwork. With any luck, you will find someone close by that you can work with. If not, depending on what your product is, you might be able to ship it to them on a next day service for them to photograph. Even with the cost of shipping, if you find a particularly talented photographer in another country who is willing to work for a low fee, you can end up with great work on a low budget. Amazing Oats photo shoot. By now, Alex has been working all day on developing the awesome oats recipes, and he's really pleased with what he has come up with. He has taken some test shots as a sort of practice before the main shoot tomorrow. We talk through how the finished photography should look. Just as with creating a mood board for my designer, I provide a reference shot, an image that we can try to recreate in our own style. I really love the brand Mast Brothers and think that their abstract, geometric photography really helps to sell their luxury chocolate. I send a few of their images to Alex so that he gets the idea of what I'm talking about. We agree that all of the shots should include the finished packaging design. As soon as we have a label design, we'll get some printed off at a print shop near his house and attached to the cardboard tubes from Visikin tomorrow. I explain that what I'll need for the site are a few lifestyle shots of the finished porridge product, showing people how it will look once they've prepared it themselves, alongside the packaging. What's important is to use photography online to explain the product in a way that you would if you had the opportunity to show it to your customers in real life. Use it to really bring it to life. As well as these lifestyle shots, I'll need some straight-on images of the packaging to show in the shop area of my online store. All in, the photo shoot will cost around £500 for professionally styled images of my products. I personally think that great photography offers the best return on investment for any business. If you consider that your website is your shop window, dressing it well is your best chance to develop sales. Stock photography. But if you don't want to make this sort of investment of time and money in commissioning a photo shoot, as I have done, you may consider using some of the excellent stock photography that is available online. Maybe your business just needs some high-quality general images related to your product or service to help bring your website to life. Through sites such as Shutterstock, Alamy, iStockPhoto and DreamsTime, you can browse millions of images that are available to license for your own purposes. These can be fairly inexpensive and offer you an extremely quick way of getting great images onto your site. Video. If your product is particularly technical or you feel that it needs some explanation, you might decide to do this with an intro video, a quick clip on the homepage of a website that succinctly explains what you are all about. Video is perhaps the most engaging way to communicate your message online, so long as you do it in the right way. As with photography, your budget will drastically affect the quality of the output. In an ideal world, you will have the budget to pay for a camera person, sound person, and video editor. However, given you are most likely on a tighter budget than that, you should be able to find one person who can do all three well enough to create a decent video for your site. You can find your filmmaker in much the same way as finding a photographer, by checking out freelancer marketplaces and portfolio listing sites. It will be best if you write the script for the video yourself, since nobody knows your story and product better than you do. Make sure that you get to the point. Don't waste your viewers' time, Most people will only watch the first few seconds of your video, and if you bore them, they'll stop right there. Use your video to get your main message across. Don't go into every technical detail. If people want more info, that's what your website is for. Probably the most successful, and most aped, intro video of all time was for $haveclub.com. In that video, the company's founder explains their product in such an entertaining and compelling way that they received many millions of shares on social media. Doing a Dollar Shave Club is much easier than it sounds. The reality is that there are a lot of talented people working hard to create viral videos. It's unlikely that you'll be so lucky that an advert for your product will spread like wildfire. But what you can do is learn from those success stories about what makes a good video: short, to the point, usually funny, and, most importantly, original. Simply copying someone else's video or creating something low-grade will do your brand more harm than good. I would suggest only creating a video if you think you can do something of good quality. This is the reason I don't plan on making a video for Awesome Oats. I simply don't think I have the time, nor do I think it's necessary for such a simple product. Fiverr.com. In one of the stranger corners of the internet lies a site called Fiverr. Here, people post examples of things they are willing to do for just $5. You will be surprised by what people are able and willing to do for almost nothing. It is in fact possible to hire professional voice-over artists, puppeteers, and even models, to create short videos describing your product. Needless to say, for only a few pounds you are not going to win any Oscars, but you could well create something reasonably professional or use one of these services to put the finishing touches onto your video clip. I'd say that Fiverr is perfect if you are creating a brand that doesn't take itself too seriously and you have given yourself some creative space to fool around in. You could hire someone dressed as a monkey to endorse your product on camera, to write your brand across their forehead, or perhaps incorporate it into a funny song. Reviews. As soon as possible, you will want your site to contain real reviews from customers, the press, or any experts in your industry. If there's anyone that you can get a quote from right away, this is something that will add a huge amount of credibility to your otherwise completely unknown brand. There are various review apps that plug in nicely to the Shopify platform, and the best ones are those that allow people to comment using Facebook. People are much less likely to write spam or abuse if their comment is connected to their real identity. They're also much more likely to like your product if you make it really easy for them to do so. Collecting people's reviews using a third-party app such as the one we use at Beer52, called Trustpilot, adds an extra layer of credibility to your site. It's extremely important that people trust your brand, especially when they have never heard of it, so these type of programs can really help, as long as your product is good enough actually to get good reviews in the first place. Mailing list. I'd say that basically every business should have an email newsletter. You should never pass on the opportunity to collect customers' email addresses. Someone might well have an interest in your business but not necessarily place an order right away. By keeping them up to date with improvements, new products, and other news as your business develops, their initial interest may well convert into a sale a little further down the line. There are lots of very easy apps, such as MailChimp, which allow you to set up a simple email capture box on your site. These link up very easily with Shopify and the other website building platforms, so this super simple marketing technique definitely shouldn't be overlooked. If you really want to boost your email marketing list, you could set up a pop-up on your homepage, offering potential customers 10% off their first order if they let you know their email address. Simply include a discount code in the automated welcome email that they'll be sent by the program. Live chat. One of the lovely features of services like Shopify is that you can integrate live chat services into your site. Some of these are even free. Zopim and Olark are a couple of examples, but there are many more with a variety of features, so shop around and find the one that is right for your site. These services provide a little pop-up box at the bottom of your site that allows a visitor to enter questions about your product. You or someone else can then answer them and walk them through the whole sales process, hopefully increasing the percentage of people who go on to buy. In the early days of starting out, it can be extremely helpful to give customers this opportunity to ask you questions right there on the homepage. You'll quickly realize what parts of your message are not getting across, what is causing confusion, and what additional information you need to include to hopefully increase your conversion rate, that is to say, the number of visitors who go on to buy anything from you. Contact forms. Similarly, you can create an excellent contact form using services such as Wufoo. This service allows you to create a form with numerous options, buttons, and drop-down menus. This will allow you to capture lots of information from prospective customers when they get in touch with a question, inquiry, or booking. It is also worth just having a contact email address available on the site, as some people prefer not to use contact forms, and you definitely don't want to miss out on any leads just because of that. Frequently asked questions. To minimize the number of repetitive, simple questions that people will contact you about over and over again, make sure that your site has a detailed FAQ page right from the start. By having as much information on your site as possible, you will help to alleviate any of the fears or concerns that people may have, which could otherwise stop them from ordering. This page should cover all of the boring details that you don't want to cover on the sexier pages of your site, like, what happens if my delivery doesn't show up? Can I track my order online? Where do your ingredients come from? Are you hiring? A nice app for creating this page is the Desk.com customer support service. It will help you to populate an FAQ page with lots of questions, and will also create Q&As based on dialogues that you have with customers over time. What's really cool is that it will help you to manage your interactions with customers across all of the different contact points they may have with your brand, email, phone, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Subscription payments. For Beer 52 and perhaps your business too, it is necessary to process recurring subscription payments each month, which comes with a number of challenges. Inevitably, customers' payments will fail, their cards will expire over time, they will want to cancel their payments and also skip months here and there, when they go on holiday for example. The good news is that there are a number of services available that remove all of these headaches, by managing this process for you, in exchange for a small fee. The ones that I recommend are Chargeify, which integrates nicely with Shopify, FastSpring, or Spreedly. Which one is best will depend on your country, merchant bank account, and payment processor, so be sure to check out all of your options before committing to one. You should check out GoCardless, which is a system for letting people pay by direct debit, much cheaper to process than credit or debit cards, and there's also a much lower rate of payments failing. Payment processing. If you are not accepting subscriptions, the payment processing will be extremely simple. All you need to do is set up a free account with, for example, PayPal or Stripe, and enter your account details into the payments section of Shopify. When a customer checks out of your online store, they will automatically pay what they owe you into your PayPal account. Then you just need to get PayPal to transfer your funds into your bank account. Easy. If, like me, you are planning to accept payments on an ongoing subscription basis, you will need to set up both a merchant bank account and a payment gateway. The best ones to use vary by country, so check with Chargeify or whichever subscription management system you are using. Offline payments. Some Start UPS will need to be able to accept credit card payments in the real world. For example, if you are selling your products at live events, parties, or even door-to-door. The quickest and easiest way of doing this is to set up an account with Square, iZettle, or one of the numerous other mobile-based payment processors. With a nifty little gadget that you attach to your phone or tablet, you can start swiping cards right away, accepting payments of any amount wherever you are. Awesomotes website development. Having opened an account with a free 14-day trial from Shopify, chosen a theme that I like and installed it to my account, I'm ready to get going. I start by adding my logo and writing a little about the story of how I came up with the idea for Awesomotes. I add a photo of myself to the About page. I absolutely recommend doing this. Not only does including your own personal story give your brand some authenticity, it helps people to trust you. I don't have finished product photographs to upload just yet, but I can complete almost everything else on my site. I stay up late linking my domain name to my site, adding my terms and conditions and adding all of the basic information about my business such as my phone number and address. Set up a company email address. Using the control panel for your new domain name, you'll be able to set up a forwarding catch-all that will send all emails sent to that address to your existing email account. It is best that you use Gmail, so that you can easily configure it to be able to reply from that domain name too, i.e. when I email someone, it'll show Fraser@awesomotes.com in the From field. If you are not sure how to do this, just Google how to set up a catch-all email with, and include the name of your domain provider. Register a phone number. I recommend setting up a Skype number. This looks like a normal landline phone number but actually diverts calls to your Skype account. You can pick a number for virtually any country in the world, so you can appear to be based in, for example, the UK, but actually be working from the beach in Spain. Write your site's terms and conditions. It is really important that your site has a complete list of TNCS, returns policy, privacy policy, cookies policy, data protection statement, contact details and details of which governing law your site is subject to. Rather than writing these out from scratch, you can very easily find a template online or even just rephrase your competitors' terms, which will be publicly displayed on their website. Or, you can use a tool called TermsFeed to help you do it. And now it's time to get some sleep. I'm exhausted but delighted that in just one day I have come up with an idea for a business, given it a name and hired both an illustrator and a food stylist to help me bring it to life. What's more, I've set up the basics of my website ready to add my finished product tomorrow. Good night.